All right, Shalom. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ha, Racha, Kodash, Mama. Double honors to the elder, apostle, and the elders of GMS. Double honors to my elder as well. Salutations to the sincere Akib, pushing his truth and sincerity around the four corners of this earth. I'm the Car Korab Ban Yasharala, coming out the Lions Den camp of Yasharala here in Jacksonville, Florida. Now today I'll be coming out with a lesson. The title of this lesson is Babylon, America's Gods Are No Gods. Because as you know, the spirit of idolatry is real heavy here in America, and they worship everything, especially 2/3 of our people. They worship everything but the one true living power. And as you see, I have a picture of supposed gods, or deities or beings looked at as gods. Well, these are all idols. They are not real, you know, but nonetheless, people worship these false gods and false deities as if they were real, and they burn offerings, and so like you burn incense and give offerings to these pagan deities. But without further ado, I'm gonna get right into the scriptures. This is Jeremiah chapter 10, read verse 7. It says, "Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to for to thee doeth it appertain. For as much as among all the wise men of the nations and in all their kingdoms there is none like unto thee." Now this is the one true living power, and this is a question. It says, "Who would not fear thee, O King of nations?" And as we know, the Most High is the King of nations, and this only appertains to Him. It only applies to Yahweh. It doesn't apply to these false gods you see right here, Horus and Dionysius and Attis and Mithra and his Krishna and all. And of course, everybody's favorite here in Babylon, Jesus Christos. But it says, "Who would not fear?" And right now, nobody's fearing the Most High, but they're going to fear Him, i.e., respect Him, because things are going to get even more worse than they are right now. Things are finna really turn up. But again, it says, "Who would not fear thee, O King of nations? For to thee, for to thee doeth appertain, for as much as among all the wise men of the nations in all their kingdoms there is none like unto thee." And see, there is none like. There is no God beside Yahweh that's like unto Him. No, 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 none of these false deities are beside the Most High. Heck, none of these false deities don't even stand up against Yahweh Shai, our Lord and Savior, our big brother, whom people like to call, as you see the picture on here, you know. But the belief in these false gods, false deities, is nothing but foolishness. Verse 8, "But they are altogether brutish and foolish. The stock is a doctrine of vanities." And as you know, worshiping and believing in all these false gods, it is a doctrine of vanities, uselessness. It doesn't help you spiritually. It only hinders you and kills you spiritually. Salakia. Now let's jump down to verse 10. It says, "But the Lord Yahweh is the true power. He is the living power, the living God, an everlasting King. And at His wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide His indignation." So the Most High is the only one true living power. He's an everlasting King. He's an everlasting power, meaning He will exist forever, and there is none with Him. The nations shall not be able to abide His indignation. When the Lord brings His judgment full force, the nations are not going to abide His indignation, meaning these nations and these other people are not going to be able to stand against His righteous judgment, His hot displeasure. They're not going to be able to stand. They're going to be taken down. They're going to be beaten to dust, beaten to powder. They're going to be nothing to the Most High. Verse 11, "Thus shall ye say, unto them the gods that have made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth, from under these heavens. See, you're gonna say to these false powers, that people think have made the earth and the heavens. What when the Lord come and really turn up, really dish out his indignation, those false gods are gonna perish too. All these false deities you see, and many more, are gonna perish too from under the heavens. Verse 12, he hath made the earth by his power, he hath established the world by his wisdom, and hath stretched out the heavens by his discretion. See, Yahweh Yahushua hath made the earth by his power. He has established the world by his wisdom, his know-how, and he stretched out the heavens by his discretion, by his own choosing. See, no other power have. Horus has not done this. Dionysius has not done this. Jesus Christos has not done this. Mithra has not done this. None of these made-up gods have not done these things. They will perish right along with everybody else, because these man-made gods were made by man's hands. Anything made by man's hands is corrupted. Especially if you're talking about trying to make yourself making a god, making something to worship. But continuing. Verse 13. When he uttereth his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasure. See, the Most High controls everything. He make everything happen. When he speak, he creates. He bringeth the lightning and the rain and the wind out of his head treasures. I like not his head treasures, but out of his treasures. This is the power of the true living power, which is Yahweh. He does these things. These false gods don't do these things. These false gods are made by men's hands. Verse 14. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image. For his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in him. See, every man is brutish in his knowledge, like an animal. Every founder is confounded, by the graven images. And as you know, our people are confounded, confused by these graven images. They really think that they're real powers, real gods. For the molten image is falsehood. The molten image is a lie. The made up God or deity to worship by man's hands is falsehood, meaning it's a lie. It's not true. It's not real. There is no breath in these false gods. Krishna ain't gonna come down and stop what's going on right now. None of them, because they're not real. They never ever was. But continuing. Verse 15. They are vanity and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. See, in the time of their visitation, in the time of judgment, these false gods are going to perish, right along with the men that created them. Because idolatry is a sin, and the Most High is not with that. But continuing. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 13. Here we go. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, surely vain are all men by nature, who are ignorant of Yahweh, and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is. Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the work master. So, a lot of our people, sometimes man is vain by nature. A lot of our people are ignorant of the Most High, and they cannot recollect and or pick out the things, the good things that are seen before the very face, and know that it was the Most High that did it. They don't consider the work that was put in, nor do they acknowledge the work master. Two-thirds of our people don't do this. Heck, most people don't do this. They don't acknowledge the one true work master who created all of this. Sentient life, the earth, the heavens, the deep, the animals, everything. But continuing. Verse 2, it says, but deemed either fire or wind, or the swift air, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven to be gods which govern the world. But our people seem to want to, well, our people do sin, but I meant to say seemed, but our people seem to want to believe that it was the fire and wind. They were, the universe, juice stuff, and all of that crap like that. They want to believe all the celestial bodies that were created in the heavens by the Most High, by Yahweh Shai, or they want to believe the violent water, the deep, or the lights of heaven to be the gods that govern the world. Well, it's just not true. There's only one true living power that governs the world, and his name is Yahweh. But our people want to worship everything but the one true living power. But continuing. Verse 3, with whose beauty, if they being delighted, took them to be gods, let them know how much better the Lord Yahweh of them is. For the first author of beauty hath created them. So they're caught up with our people, here in Babylon, America. They're caught up with the beauty of these things, such as fire, wind, water, the swift air, the stars, the lights of heaven, and all these things. They're being delighted. Our people took them to be gods. The heathens, the same thing. They took these things to be gods. So it is our job to let them know how much better the Lord Yahweh, while Yahweh Shai, is. How much better the Creator is than the creations. And we do that. For the first author of beauty hath created them. Most High, he did this. He gave out orders. He gave the power to Yahweh Shai to create these things. The heavens and the beauty of the earth and in the heavens, how things are set up and everything. The Most High, he created all of that stuff. But continuing, let's jump down to verse 7. It says, for being conversant in his works, they search him diligently and believe their sight, because things are beautiful that are seen. Our people, they are conversant in the works of the Most High. They want to, they want to study. They want to, some of our people want to study and want to look in it, because we already know Jake don't like to read or study nothing. But these other heathen nations and things like that, they want to be conversant in the Most High's works, Yahweh Shai's works, and they search it diligently, and they believe their sight, because of things that are beautiful before their eyes. Yes, when you sit down and look at what the Most High's created, it is very beautiful. You can't do anything but appreciate it. You can't not appreciate it if you sit down and take that time to look. But I'm gonna just go on down to verse 8. It says, howbeit, neither are they to be pardoned. Our people ain't gonna be pardoned. Why? Because they chose to worship these things. They chose to worship false deities and gods and things that are not to be gods. Howbeit, neither are they to be pardoned. For if they were able to know so much, that they could aim at the world, how did they not consider? So, like, how did they not sooner find out the Lord Yahweh thereof? So our people ain't gonna be pardoned for worshiping false gods, And if they were able to know so much, how is it they was able to know so much in the world? How is it that they could not find out that it was the Most High that did these things. That he gave the power to Yahweh Shai to create these things, if they knew so much, but people don't. But verse 10. But miserable are they in dead things, is their hope. So like I'm gonna read that again. But miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope. Who call them gods, which are the works of men's hands, gold and silver, to show art in and resemblances of beasts, or a stone good for nothing, the work of an ancient hand. But our people are miserable, and they're going to be miserable. Why? Because their hope is in dead things, and they call the works of men's hands to be gods. With, you know what I'm saying, they do all these different things, and they put gold and silver, and they show art. Art just means skill, in these things, and they make these false gods and deities in the resemblances of beasts, or they worship a stone that is pretty much good for nothing, and it'd be the work of an ancient hand that carved it years ago, that just whatever they put it at is still there. They're gonna be miserable, and they are miserable in these things. Verse 11. Now a carpenter that felleth timber, meaning cut down a tree, a carpenter that felleth timber, after he hath sawn down a tree meet for purpose, and taken off all the bark skillfully round about, and hath wrought it handsomely, and made a vessel thereof fit for the service of man's life, and after spending the refuse of his work to dress his meat, hath filled himself, and taking the very refuse amongst those which serve to no use, being a crooked piece of wood, and full of knots, hath carved it diligently, when he hath nothing else to do, and formed it by the skill of his understanding, and fashioned it into the image of a man, or made it like some vile beast, laying it over with vermilion, and with paint, coloring it red, and covering every spot therein. And when he had made a convenient room for it, set it in a wall, and made it fast with iron, for he provided for it, that it might not fall, knowing that it was unable to help itself, for it is an image, and hath need of help. Then maketh he prayer for his goods, for his wife and children, and is not ashamed to speak to that which hath no life. For health he calleth upon that which is weak, for life he prayeth to that which is dead, for aid he humbly beseecheth that which hath least means to help, and for a good journey he keepeth of that which cannot set a foot forward, and for gaining and getting, and for good success of his hands asketh ability to do of him that is most unable to do anything. So this is just a classic move of a man using his skills to build himself his own deity, his own God. And then after he done sat down and used the refuse a vast majority of his time to carve this work and to dress everything, you know, and get himself filled with food and things like that. And he's taking the very refuse among those which serve to no use. These guys, people, they build these gods, they use their skills for carving and for forming various let me see, what kind of word can I use? They use their skills. I would say just use their skills for that which is useless. They got all this skill, and they carve out, or they carve these deities, and they make up this stuff by their own understanding, I mean their own art and understanding, and they fashion it into the image of a man, you know, and or if they don't fashion it into the image of a man, you know, the carpenter that felled the tree, or people in general, they'll make it unto some vile beast, some maybe probably an unclean animal or something, and they paint it with red, and then they cover it, and they put gold and silver on it. They fasten it to walls, and they put nails in it so it don't fall down. You know, you know, and this is how you know that they probably know that they know that this is no God, because they have to provide for it so that it won't fall down off the wall, or it won't fall over on the floor when they put it in a corner somewhere, you know, because knowing that it is unable to help itself. But our people still pray to these false deities. They still worship these false deities, you know. But continuing, and then they make a prayer to these false deities for their wife and children. They're not ashamed to speak to that, to something that has no life in it. No life. It does not move. It cannot live. They pray for health, you know, which is weak, to something that is weak. You know, they pray for life to something that is dead. They beseech something, you know, they beseech to these false gods that they made with their hands, which has no means to help. You know, they ask for a good journey, and this thing that they built can't even set a foot and move and go anywhere. You know, and for gaining and getting, for good success and things like that, and they ask for the ability to be able to allow these things to, oh, whatever, let me be able to do this and to do that. And I mean, why would you? It's crazy. It's foolish. It's vanity, because you praying to something that has no life, something that cannot give no strength to anything, no means to do anything. But Yahweh, why Yahweh can, because they're living. Yahweh is the true living power. He's alive. He hears you. He sees you. You know, but our people in general, especially these heathens, they make their gods to worship, and they pray to their gods, and they do all this stuff, and they spend hours of their skills and understanding using their art, i.e., their skill, to make these gods. Then after that, they fasten it to a wall, or they fasten it to a corner, and they paint it with red and green and gold and silver and blue and orange and all these crazy colors, just so they can sit down and worship it, to ask for health and life and financial gain and things like that. When it's when it's a dead thing, it cannot grant anything. It's useless. It's just an oversized paperweight. I say it like that. But our people, they brains don't work. This is Sirach 14. So like not Sirach, but Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14. I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, again, one preparing himself to sail and about to pass through the raging wave calleth upon a piece of wood more rotten than the vessel that carrieth him. Again, our people, that when they finna get ready to do something, what they do, they call upon something, a rotten piece of wood that's more rotten than the vessel that's going to carry them to wherever they're going. People love to pray to these false deities that are no gods. Verse 2. For very desire of gain devised that, and the workman built by his hands. See, for the very desire of gain, they devise these things. They build these false gods, these false deities, and the workman built by his skill. You know, or they'll get somebody else to build it, or they call them an artificer or something like that, or a carpenter. or a sculpture artist or something like that. But continuing, verse 3, but thy providence, O Father, governeth it. For thou hast made a way in the sea and a safe path in the waves. But the Most High's providence, his power, his will, governeth everything. And it is the Most High who will make a safe path in the sea of the waves. These false deities don't do these things. These false gods don't do these. Verse 4, showing that thou canst save from all danger, yea, though a man went to sea without art. So the Most High allow things to happen to go smoothly, you know what I'm saying, and showing that he can save from all danger, yet a man went to sea without art, i.e. skill. Dude don't have no skill, don't have no understanding of how to sail, but however, whatever he planned to do, the Lord makes sure that it happens without mishap. I'm going to jump down to verse 8 of Wisdom of Solomon 14 to get straight to the point. It said, but that which is made with hands is cursed, as well it as he that made it. He, because he made it, and it, because being corruptible, it was called power or called a god. But again, that which is made with hands is cursed, as well as the thing, as well as the one who made it. So our people making gods and worshiping and believing in things, well, those gods were made by a man's hands, and it is cursed, as well as the one who made it and the god itself that was made, the false deity that was made, being corruptible, being called a god, it's cursed as well. Verse 9, for the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful to unto Yahweh. So the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful to the Most High. The Most High don't like the ungodly and the ungodliness. It is hateful to the Most High. He hates it. He dislikes it very much. Hate. Hate is very strong. Dislike, you try to soften it up, but he hated it. The Most High don't agree with it. He don't agree. Verse 10, for that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. See, for that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it. And as you can see on this picture, all these deities were made or carved into stone, wood, whatever. These were made. So guess what? They're going to be destroyed with the one that made it. They're going to be punished together. So these deities, these false gods, they ain't no help, because they're not going to stop what's coming to America. Especially everyone's favorite 7 BCE. Not even going to say it. But let's keep going. Verse 11. Therefore, even upon the idols of the Gentiles shall there be a visitation. See, it's going to be a visitation. The Most High is going to judge all wickedness. It says, therefore, upon the idols of the Gentiles there shall be a visitation. So these Gentiles, these physical Gentiles, it's going to be a visitation on them. The Lord going to visit them and their idols. Verse, keep continuing. Because the creature, because in the creature of Yahweh, they are become an abomination and stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and a snare to the feet of the unwise. So the Most High, he's going to visit these Gentiles, these physical Gentiles, and their idols, because they have built these idols, Salakia. They have built these idols, and they have become stumbling blocks. They're an abomination to the Most High, and they've become stumbling blocks to the souls of men, and they snare to the feet of the unwise. See, our people are those people that get caught up in this idol worship, and then when you start to tell them that it ain't right, that it don't serve a purpose, they get angry with you. Where their feet are caught up in the snare, they're the unwise. It's a stumbling block for them. It causes them to fall short every time. They don't never ever get the truth. So it's going to be a visitation. It's going to be a destruction, a judgment coming to that, to these Gentiles and their idols. Verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of a spiritual fornication. See, that's spiritual fornication. The devising of idols is a spiritual fornication. The Lord tells us we should have no other gods before him. But continuing. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. See, the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them the corruption of life. See, devising of idols, it's a spiritual fornication. For 2/3 of our people, they're committing spiritual immorality by worshiping these other false gods, because us as the Israelites, we have a power, and his name is Yahweh Shai. We have Salakia. We have a Savior, his name is Yahweh Shai, but we also have a power, a God, our Father, whose name is Yahweh. But people want to believe in 7 BCE as the power, but that's just a false deity. Look at it. It don't even line up with what the scriptures say the Lord looked like. The Lord don't look like no Edomite. But continue, let's go back. The devising of idols, in verse 12, that's the beginning of spiritual fornication. And the invention of them, the corruption of life. See, the invention of these things, these idols, it corrupts people. It's the corruption of life. It corrupts people. If you go back up to verse 11, it's a stumbling block to the souls of men and a snare to the feet of the unwise. 2/3 of our people are unwise, so these idols are snared in them. It's a trap. Verse 13, for neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever. For by the vainglory, Salakia, of men they entered into the world, and therefore they shall shortly come to an end. So from the beginning, for neither were they. So these false gods wasn't gods from the beginning. Neither shall they be forever. They're not gonna be. Most High's gonna do away with it. And everybody, when the Lord comes back, everybody's gonna be bowing down to Yahweh Shai. Period. It says, for the vainglory of men entered into the world, and therefore shall they shortly come to an end. See, the vainglory of men entered into the world by these idols. So therefore they shall shortly come to an end. These things are not going to be around long. Verse 15. Salakia. Yeah. Verse 15. For a father afflicted with an untimely mourning, and he hath made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices. So just like a father, this son dies or some untimely death, they mourn, and that's what they do. They want to make a stone monument unto this child, and they want to worship it as a god. They want to honor him as a god and want to burn incense and sacrifices and hold ceremonies, ritualistically, which is idol worship. They want to do that, and sacrifices. Verse 16. And people do that now. They always want to go to their auntie, their grandmama, cousin, or mama, or daddy grave, sister grave, every birthday, that's worship. That is worship of the dead. That is idolatry. That person is gone. That spirit is going back to the Heavenly Father, and whatever that body that your grandma, you know what I'm saying, that you know is grandmama or auntie, well, that spirit is with the Father and they're at rest. So there shouldn't be any, but our people, they do it anyway. But let's go to verse 16. Thus in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and the graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings. So over time, this became a custom. Idolatry became a custom that grew really, really strong, and it was kept as a law, and it's still kept as a law to this day. The graven images are worshipped by the commandments of kings. When you had all these ancient kings then who were building all these monuments, like Esau, all his monuments with all these different Andrew Jackson and all these other guys that they monumentalize. That's worship. That's idolatry. Because a lot of these people that they make monuments to, a lot of them caused a lot of hell for the children of Israel. Killed a lot of Israelites. Verse 17. I'm gonna read verse 16 again. It says, "Thus in the process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings, whom men could not honor in presence, because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far, and made an express image of a king, whom they honored, to the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent, as if he were present." See, our people, these heathens in general, if they could not honor somebody physically, face to face, they would build statues and monuments. They would take a counterfeit image of this person, an express image of a king or whoever whom they honored or worshipped. By the end of their fraudness, their perverseness, might flatter him that was absent, as if they were present. That's what our people do. It is what it is, and they follow in the footsteps of these heathens who do the same thing. Look at this picture. They believe this. Our people believe these things. Look, continuing. Verse 18. This is also the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more suspicious. So the single diligence of an artificer, somebody that could make these sculptures, make these gods, these false gods, they help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition, meaning they added to the problem. These artificers, these artists, these sculpture artists and different things that build these things, they pretty much helped to continue people in the ignorance of idol worship and superstition. They continued to do these things. Let's go. Let's hit Wisdom of Solomon. So Salakia, Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15. I'm going to read verse 1 and I'm going to jump down to verse 6. It says, "Therefore by the like they were punished worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented." So our people have been tormented and judged for idol worship, and they're going to get judged again. Just making sure. But again, let's start up at verse 1. Therefore, by the like, this is talking about our people when the Most High gave our people strange meat to his people to stir up their appetite. You know what I'm saying? And then have vile beasts and their enemies take it from them. You know, he stung them with serpents for being hard-headed, disobedient, and you know what I'm saying? But he soon healed them by his word. But we already know, because our people like to worship and be hard-headed and disobedient. But let's continue. This is Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 15. I'm going to start back at verse 1. Therefore, by the like, they were punished worthily, and by the multitude of beasts tormented, instead of which punishment, dealing graciously with thine own people, thou preparedst for them meat of a strange taste, even quails to stir up their appetite, to the end that they desiring food might overly, I don't know, Shalakia. For I think that's the ugly sight of the beasts sent among them, loatheth even that which they must needs desire, but these suffering penury for a short space might be partakers of a strange taste, for it was requisite that upon them exercising tyranny should come. Salakia, wait a minute, I think I'm Salakia, let me check, let me make sure. Okay, no, Salakia for that. Kind of wrote down the wrong, I ain't gonna say I wrote down the wrong scripture. Let's go ahead and move it on to the next one. Let's go to Isaiah 46. Because our people don't understand that there's only one true living power. Verse 9. This is Isaiah 46, chapter 46, verse 9. It says, remember the former things of old, for I am Yahweh, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me. So remember the former things. The Lord is saying, remember the days of old. Remember the former things. It says, for I am power, I am God, and there is none else. I am Yahweh, and there is none like me. And the Most High is saying that ain't no power like him. He's the only one true living power. And Horus, Dionysus, and Mithra, and all these other deities, they are not beside the Most High, because why? They are not real. They don't live. They don't breathe. They don't judge. These images that you're looking at are dead things. But you know, you can't tell nobody that. Isaiah chapter 45, just to reiterate the point. It says, I am the Lord Yahweh, and there is none else. There is no God besides me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. So the Most High is saying, I am the one true living power. Ain't no God beside me. Horus ain't up here beside me. Dionysius ain't up here beside me. Attis and Mithra and Krishna and you know, I'm gonna just keep saying 7 BCE because that name bothers me. But ain't no God beside the Most High. Ain't no power beside him. Yahweh is the only one true living power. The Most High is the one who girded Israel, Yasharallah, kept us safe in the ancient times, in the days of old, even up until now. He's still doing his job because he's the one true living power, and we're not supposed to have any other powers any other gods before him. Because if you putting a god before Yahweh, you can best believe it is no power. It don't stand up against the Most High. And in the day of visitation, these false gods that you see, they're going to be beaten to powder just like the ones who created them are going to be beaten to powder, unjudged, and destroyed. Krishna ain't finna stop the destruction of Babylon, America. But let's keep going. Let's go to Exodus. Get my last 2 points. Exodus chapter 34. There we go. Exodus chapter 34, verse 14. And this is a straight commandment from the Most High to the children of Israel. This is Exodus chapter 34, verse 14. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord Yahweh, whose name is a jealous God. Period. We're not supposed to worship no other gods. This is a straight charge from the Most High. A straight charge. This ain't no gray area. This ain't no leeway, a little slack here and there. The Most High say, don't worship no other gods. Don't have no other gods before me. And it says, for the Lord Yahweh, whose name is jealous. His name is Yahweh. The Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh. And he is a jealous power, meaning he ain't going to share his glory, his praise with another God, a false God. It ain't going to happen. And when you paying attention, yeah, you can see where the Lord coming from. Because he the one true living power. All these other gods you see, they don't live. They ain't finna do nothing. They can't do nothing. Verse 17, I'm going to just jump down real quick. Thou shalt make thee no molten gods. Don't make no graven images. See, this is literal right here. This is a straight charge. This is literal. A lot of the Bible is parabolic, metaphoric. But this right here, oh, this straight charge, this straight literal, this literal. Don't make no false gods. Don't make no false images. Don't worship no other false gods. Period. Most High is not playing. Let's go to Exodus chapter 20, my last point, just to back up the point that I just made. Because our people still don't understand. The Most High is not playing. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Period. It's not a gray area. And with that, Shalom.